Welcome to 13 Cents More, the podcast. I am E. Probilski, an author, editor, and book publisher. I have done all these different things for many years, and I am here to share book publishing insights, personal anecdotes, information about my books, and so much more. Let's get into it. Hey friends, this week I wanted to talk about a subject that is kind of emotionally difficult for me, and it is something that I think really needs to be talked about more. And that is the fact that as an editor, my job is to bear bad news to people a lot of the time. So as much as I love my job, the most difficult part of what I do is the fact that I am in charge of telling people that their babies are ugly. I can be gentle about it, I can say it kindly, but people come to me to learn what is wrong with their manuscript and how to fix it. And delivering this news is a very specific skill that I've been cultivating over my last 16 years in the industry, and it's something I'm constantly working to improve on, but it is never not going to be really hard. One of the things about it that makes it such a challenge for me is that I am autistic. My nature is to be very direct, and I've had to very purposefully learn how to soften my language for people and kind of make it easier for them to digest what I'm saying. It's not that I'm mean, but I usually default to here's what's wrong, here's how we fix it, and that's it. I don't really waffle around with how I say things, and sometimes that upsets people. That isn't to say that my editorial letters are mean. I'm not. I really spend a lot of time making sure that they aren't unkind, and I put them through things like Goblin tools, and I check them for tone a lot, because again, being autistic, it's not my nature to be as gentle as people might like. But I am really clear about the state of people's books, and it's rough. Part of that, I think, is the double empathy problem with autism, because I know how it feels to receive those letters. I'm an author myself, I have an editor, I have received critiques many times over the years, and sometimes those are really not fun to receive. I tend to favor very direct communication about what I do well or do badly, and I tend to give that kind of communication. Again, that's something that is part of being autistic, but I understand how hard it is because I also have RSD, which is rejection sensitive dysphoria. It can feel really awful to be told that something you're passionate about is just not working. And if you don't know what RSD is, you can Google it. It's a thing that is common amongst neurodivergent people. On the other hand, I've also had these challenging conversations with clients, and they go back and take my advice and then come back really excited with their manuscripts that are about 1,000,000 times better than they were when we started. And sometimes that process of shedding the dead wood can be really daunting and painful, but it yields a dramatically better end product. And the author usually knows it. Like my clients, when they come back, they're like, wow, your advice really changed my book, and I feel like I have such a stronger manuscript now. And that's kind of the thing about this job. Like, it's my job to tell people that their work needs work, but it's not trying to cut people off at the knees and make them feel bad about their writing. I liken it more to smelting ore. My job is to pull out the impurities from their books and leave them with something that's shining and beautiful. The smelting process involves melting something down and pulling out all the impurities, and it's hard and there's a lot of heat and it is really grueling work, but at the end you end up with something beautiful and something that is far stronger than what you started with as a rule. Every single time I craft one of those emails where I'm telling a client, hey, so this is not going to go the way we hoped, I spend multiple hours writing these emails. Like, I've spent 4 to 6 hours writing an email before. Then I put it through things like Goblin tools, like I mentioned. I delete client data when I put them through Goblin tools because I don't want anybody to have access to information about my clients. But I do a lot of work to make sure my tone is correct, and then after I've done all of that, I sleep on it and read it again in the morning. And I spend, like I said, a long time on these letters. And I know most editors are similar. Those letters are hard for us to write because we don't like hurting people. And not to mention that we've all had horror stories of clients who exploded on us after receiving one of those letters. My point about this week, I think, is that no editors are sitting around twirling our mustaches excited about the prospect of upsetting our clients. When we have to write up those reports and emails telling people that their works are in need of serious help, we hate it. We are people like everyone else, We're not mysterious creatures cloaked in shadows as much as we might joke about it. I mean, I'm definitely several gremlins in a trench coat. Like, no, anybody who knows me for longer than 5 minutes knows that I'm several gremlins in a trench coat. I'm a creature of chaos and disorder. But that's like me. And all of those gremlins are soft hearted, gentle creatures that never want to hurt anybody. We just favor chaos and goofiness and a lot of puns. My joking aside, when you're on the receiving end of those kinds of critiques, I know it's easy to feel like an editor's picking on you, and I'm not going to tell you that your feelings aren't valid because they are. It's hard. But on the other side of the coin, know that the person sending you these emails hates doing it, at least the kind of ones that I'm talking about here where I'm telling somebody that there's bad news about their manuscript. Those things keep us awake at night a lot of the time. Like, I have laid awake staring at the ceiling, worrying about how a client will receive an email, or sometimes I've even gotten out of bed to go edit the email again before I send it in the morning. And I know a lot of editors like that. I can honestly say that pretty much all of the ones I've spoken to are like that. As challenging as it is to receive editorial feedback, I guess my goal here is to help you understand that giving it is just as hard as receiving it can be. If you're getting your letters from us professionals and it's not the news you wanted, please keep in mind that our job here is to help. We're doing this because our whole hearts are invested in our clients and in your success. We are passionate about our jobs. Like, this is, as I said last week, it's almost more of a calling in a way than just a job. And I have yet to meet an editor who feels differently than that, who is serious about their profession. And you don't really become an editor without that kind of drive and that deep love of words and of writing and of editing. Like, you don't end up as an editor by mistake most of the time. It's one of those professions that people go and find and seek out. And understanding that we are coming to you from that position of love and passion and wanting your book to be the best it can possibly be, I'm hoping it will soften the blow when you receive one of those letters, if you do, from an editor who's like, so I know you wanted to do this kind of editing, but your book isn't ready yet, and we really need to talk about some stuff because this needs to be fixed before it goes anywhere. When I'm saying those things to a client, also remember that my eye is on how an audience is going to receive it. So as hard as it is to receive that feedback from somebody you're paying, like an editor, getting reviews that say that kind of thing in far less gentle and focused language is even worse than hearing from your editor, so this needs work. Because the public doesn't have the filters editors do. They also don't have the understanding of what it is you go through writing this manuscript. They just know that they bought a product and it is not as good as they had hoped it was. That means that part of my job is I am a stand-in for the public in the sense that I'm acting as a bulwark between what you hear from me and what you would hear from the public. And I know what the public would say about certain things because, again, it's my job to know that. And I'm kind of protecting you a little from some of their ire, because if you say the wrong things to them, they are going to get pissed. This is particularly true of things like sexism, racism, or other sensitivity read kind of subjects. Like, if an editor flags something and says, hey, you're going to get eaten alive for saying this, it's not because we're trying to impose our personal views on you. It's because we know what the public is going to say about something like that. And if your target market includes the people who would be deeply upset by a racist, sexist, ableist, etc. content in there, you're going to upset folks. And we don't want you to experience what it's like to have your work and your integrity destroyed in public. That's about it for this week. I know this is a slightly shorter podcast episode than usual, but again, this subject is very difficult for me, so I hope that I was able to convey that I'm here to help people. And as difficult as it is to receive that feedback, giving it is also very hard, and we're doing it because we care. We're not trying to hurt your feelings. We're not trying to tear you down. We are trying to give you the tools to really make yourself the author you want to be and reach your publishing goals. So I hope that helps. Have a great week, and I will talk to you again soon.